Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's podcast with me, Gail from Sober Bliss. Welcome. I hope you're all doing well. Today, I'm going to talk to you about my social media free life. The title of the podcast, as you may have seen, is I quit social media a year ago, and I'm going to share with you what's different, what I've enjoyed, the highlights, any negatives, and just my experiences really of being social media free for a year. But before I go onto that, I just want to tell you what's been going on here. I am going to the UK next week, which is really exciting. I'm a little bit nervous, but I've got my crystals ready for the flight. I'm really looking forward to being back in the UK. We haven't been back for such a long time. I'm looking forward to the food, obviously the greenery of Northumberland, because that's where I'm from, the northeast. And I'm sure I'll have lots to share with you when I get back. As you know, I quit drinking 5 years ago whilst living here in Spain. So this is going to be my first taste of British alcohol-free life, if you like. So I will be experiencing some of the things that you share with me. Obviously, airports, that's a first for me. The flight, that's going to be a first. British pubs, the UK supermarkets, and all of that. So I'll let you know my experiences when I get back. Also, just to let you know that when I do come back, there will be some availability for one-to-one coaching. If you're interested, if you need some support, I have one spot available on my 3-month coaching program and one spot left on my brand new, really deeply nourishing and intensive 33-day soul sobriety experience. So if you're interested in any of those, if you need that kind of support, if you're looking for one-to-one coaching, then do book a call. I'll put the links below and we can have a chat about what the availability is, what it's like, and if it's this thing that you're looking for and how I can help you with your own journey to alcohol freedom. Okay, so let's get back to today's podcast, which is not about quitting drinking today. It's about my experiences of not being on social media. I quit social media a year ago, roughly this week, more or less, middle end of February last year, for both business use and personal use. And I'm going to narrow it down to big changes, big things I've experienced, big things I've noticed, benefits, as I said, and some things that haven't been amazing. However, it's all growth and experience. So basically, I can tell you that I have experienced more time for myself, for my family and my friends, more time spending doing what I enjoy, what's important to me. In general, since I quit social media, I do feel that I've been much more focused and more intentional in my life, in my business. My concentration has improved as well. And I do, for some reason, seem to be able to get much more done, which is really good. Even though I'm disorganized, I still manage to get things done. I do have more confidence, I would say, than I did last year because of the constantly comparing myself to other people on social media and feeling less than and not good enough. That really had a negative impact on my confidence. So now, obviously, because I'm not doing that to myself every day, I do feel a lot happier in myself. I am much more secure and confident with myself. Which brings me on to my next big benefit, if you like. I do feel more like myself. I do feel like I'm beginning to get to know me again and to connect with me in a deeper way. I'm settling in. I'm realizing what I enjoy, what I'm good at, what brings me joy, what lights me up, and what doesn't, which is really important because I think I was just trying to fit in, do what everybody else is doing. There was probably a lot of people pleasing going on when I was on social media. So being more confident and being more myself makes life feel much nicer. And the really big important thing I would say is that I've enjoyed much deeper personal connection this year since I quit social media. My family obviously are really benefiting from me being fully present with them. And although my circle of friends has gotten smaller, which I'll talk about in a minute, I do feel a lot closer to the people who I am connected with. So there are 5 main points I would say that I've really noticed since I quit social media, and we're going to talk about those in a little bit more detail. So when I say I quit social media, what I mean is that I don't use Facebook or Instagram anymore for my business or for my personal self. I don't have, I don't use it for personal stuff either. I do still have my Facebook account and my Instagram account, but I don't post on there. I don't do anything with regards to my business on there at all. I do sometimes have to pop into Facebook because my local village group, I suppose, is on there, and I'll talk about that as well in a minute. So I occasionally pop on, but it's never for very long. The same with Instagram. I've had to contact people a couple of times because they're only on Instagram or they don't read their emails. But that's it. No posting, no scrolling, no commenting, nothing like that. I deleted my Twitter account and my LinkedIn account, so I'm no longer on there at all. I've never been on TikTok. So although my Facebook and Instagram accounts are still there, I don't post at all. And today I'm going to talk about mainly how it's affected me personally, not being on social media, but I will talk a little bit about my business as well, because that's mainly what I used it for, to be honest. In general, then, I would say I'm really happy with my decision to leave social media. And of course, I would highly recommend it to everybody. But this is my personal experience. It's my journey, just like the alcohol-free journey. But if something's, niggling away at you, or if you're inspired by what you're listening to, then do look at your social media use. And it's worth considering taking a break. Whether that leads to a longer term thing or not, it's entirely up to you. But think about how your social media use is making you feel. And if it's not giving you much, or if it's taking away more than it's giving, then I think it might be time to take a close look at what's going on. So this is my experience. As you know, I quit social media in February 2022 by taking a short break. That's what I did first of all. I committed to a week, I think it was, and I told everybody, I'm having a week off social media, I'll let you know how it goes. But honestly, a few days into that initial break from social media, I really enjoyed it. There was a bit of weirdness at first, but after that I just thought, this is so good, I probably won't go back. And I did write a blog and recorded a podcast about that, which I put the links to at the end of the the show notes so you can learn more about why I quit, what led me to taking the break when I did, and why I turned my initial week-long break into a more permanent thing. But in a nutshell, the reason I quit social media was because it was beginning to feel like my drinking did before I stopped drinking. So in other words, taking up far too much space in my head, too much of my time, too much energy, and it was getting in the way of my rest, my sleep, the things that I enjoyed, the relationships with my family and my friends, and I was beginning to feel a little bit rubbish about myself. So that's why I quit. And in terms of social media use for business, there's this, I don't know, belief, I suppose, that you have to be on social media if you've got an online business. You have to be in all the places all the time. And to be frank, it was very overwhelming. And it felt like just another thing to tick off the list, another thing I had to do. And when I didn't do it, or it wasn't done very well, or somebody did the same thing better than me, I felt a bit rubbish. And I started to sense as well that social media, Instagram probably in particular, didn't always feel like a nice place to be. So I wasn't enjoying it at all. But yeah, it was still a big step. It was still scary to be off there as a business owner. If you're a business owner, I'm sure you can relate. Disappearing from something like that can feel really big and scary, and you do worry that you're just going to disappear into the ether and never be seen from or heard of again, which is obviously not the case because I'm still here. But it was still a big thing for me. However, I am really pleased, obviously, that I did that because, yes, I am still here. My business is actually doing better now. It feels much better now than it was last year. And I feel like I am, and this comes back to the more me bit, I feel like I am running my business in a way that feels good for me. And also, as a result of that, I'm much better at my job. I'm much better at supporting you, my clients, who in turn get much better results. So in general, for business, leaving social media has been nothing short of wonderful. It's been a learning curve. There's been a lot of things to figure out and to work through, and I would say that finally, after a year of social media, I am beginning to get into more of a routine. I feel much more settled, much calmer, much more confident. And you might think, wow, a whole year just to, feel like that. But as you know, or you may not know, if this is the first time that you've heard from me, a couple of months into my social media break, or my social media freedom, I'll have to say, my husband had a stroke. So it wasn't obviously expected or planned, of course, but it did throw things, a little bit out of, I don't know what the word is, all over the place, I would say. But let's go back to the very beginning. So when I first quit, and as I mentioned in my initial post, I noticed straight away just how much time I was saving by not being on social media. And I think if I remember correctly, I saved about 11 hours in that very first week. I've got a tracker thing on my phone. It tells me how many hours a week I spend on different apps. And in between Facebook and Instagram, I saved 11 hours. And with that time, I read books, I went on walks, I made bread, I slept better and longer and just enjoyed my time with my family, really. But it was weird at first. It was really strange at first, much like when we quit anything or we change habits around something. It's very strange because we're not doing the thing, or we're trying not to do the thing that we've been doing for so long. And I did have some cravings. You know, that urge to pick up my phone every 5 minutes to check, to see what was going on, to see if I had any likes or comments or, you know, what somebody else is doing. And the cravings were quite strong in the first day or so. And I did experience huge FOMO. I just felt like my right arm had been cut off in a way. It was really strange. Obviously, I am a sobriety coach and I help people with this all of the time when it comes to alcohol. And it's been a long time since I've had any cravings for alcohol. So it was unnerving, I think, to be experiencing cravings again. And over social media, of all things. So that was really interesting. And it was immediately clear to me that I was doing the right thing by not being on there. Because if I was feeling weird without it, having strong cravings without it, then it was a sign that it was taking over my life a bit more, you know, than I wanted. So what else in the beginning? Yeah, and this is something that I probably still need to work on. There must be something, you know, social media must have been filling some sort of need, because in the first, I don't know, month or so of not being on social media, I was like, yeah, I've got all this time. I could spend a bit more time and effort, you know, on my business, on my laptop. And I suddenly found that I'd signed up to, I don't know, 62 newsletters within the first month. And all of a sudden I was overwhelmed by that and bombarded with so many new people and content that it was crazy. And I got a bit overwhelmed, I have to say. So what's that all about, I wonder? What need was I trying to fill in the early days? Thankfully, though, things have settled down and I've unsubscribed from many, many, many newsletters. So life does feel a bit calmer again, a bit more in control, and I am enjoying more time away from the screen in general, so my phone and my laptop. And I'm focusing much less on what other people are doing. I'm very specific now and more intentional about, you know, where my attention goes, which feels really good. But I'm still, I don't know, I like to read, I like to consume, I like to know things. So I'm still buying books. So maybe I need to work on that as well. However, in general, it's been good. And I think I've grown as a person. As I said at the beginning, more confidence. I feel like myself a bit more. And there's still work to be done, obviously. But now I know where, you know, the areas of myself are that need improving. We're all, I think, a work in progress all the time, aren't we? We're always kind of in the middle, trying to do better, to get better, to feel more like ourselves, to feel more aligned. So we're always striving for that. But the interesting thing is that I know, as I said, where I need to do the work. Whereas before it was just everything was wrong. I was too much of that and not enough of the other. But now I know specifically where my focus needs to go. And I've got the energy to do that now and the time. And it's enjoyable. I'm enjoying this side of life at the moment. So what else? Yeah, there's more to life than social media. Because as you know, my husband had a stroke a couple of months into my social media free life. And it really hit home to me just how unimportant Instagram is, and Facebook, obviously, and all the rest of them in the whole scheme of things. Because when someone you love is lying in intensive care in a hospital, like miles and miles away, and you don't know if you're ever going to see them again, it puts everything into perspective. And social media, as you can imagine, was the last thing on my mind. So that was quite a big wake-up call as to just how much of my life I'd been wasting on unimportant things. And thankfully, even without Instagram and Facebook, I was still able to connect with and be supported by some really great people in my life. And it really showed me in, those months, weeks and months after my husband's stroke, just who my true friends are. And I will share a bit more about that. Because when you're not on all the time, when you're not constantly plugged in and able to see what people are doing, and they're looking at what you're doing all the time, it does really hit home, for me anyway, who my true friends are, who the important people in my life are. And if you've quit drinking, if you're going through the sober journey yourself at the moment, you will understand that when you quit anything, when you change any kind of habit or behavior, then you will lose people in your circle. You will start to realize who your true friends are, and in terms of drinking, who your drinking buddies were. And you will naturally lean towards those people who you love, who love you, who are your people, who will be there to support you no matter what, and those people who are genuinely interested in you, and vice versa. And quitting social media had the same effect for me. And if I'm honest, I was a bit hurt by that at first. People who I thought were my friends turned out to be, well, not so much, really. And I did spend a lot of time in the beginning really making an effort, saying, I've left social media, so you're probably not going to see me as much, but I'd still like to keep in touch and, share things. And there was a lot of emailing and messaging and WhatsApp and suggesting to get together for a Zoom chat or whatever. But, after a while, when somebody keeps saying, yeah, let's get together sometime, but never confirming a date, or always cancelling, or just not bothering replying, then that's a sure sign that that's not your person, which was upsetting. But at the same time, I'm grateful that I know who my people are, and I know who I can count on, and hopefully my friends, my true friends, will know that they can count on me too, because we're there for each other in a way probably that we weren't before, which is really important. The connection is more genuine and deeper. And I'm not distracted anymore, by these people on the sidelines. I'm not distracted by things that I thought were important, but are actually not. And I love the quote by Oliver Berkman in 4,000 Weeks when he says, social media is a giant machine for getting you to spend your time caring about the wrong things. And I found that to be so true, really true. I was sidetracked probably and distracted a lot about things that just weren't important. So now when I do need specific support around something, my husband's stroke. That's a big thing that I needed to learn a lot about: food, nutrition, exercise. When it comes to business, when it comes to finding out something for myself or for my family, then I can do a Google search. I can get the information that I need, and then I can leave, or I can connect with somebody through their website or their email and not end up down a rabbit hole and come up for air, half an hour later, completely forgotten what I was doing in the first place. So that's really good. It's more focused and intentional, which saves a lot of time. A lot of time is wasted by getting stuck in an endless scroll, as I'm sure you know. In terms of my business, and I won't talk a huge amount about this, I might do another podcast, especially for business people, if you're interested, how I do business without social media. But in general, my business does feel joyful again. It feels more like mine, more like me, because I'm not feeling under pressure like I was before. I felt under pressure using social media for my business. I found it very draining, very distracting, because I felt I had to be there all the time, posting 55 stories a day and every day of the week and all of that. And if I didn't post, then I would immediately feel bad. I would worry about the post. I would overthink things, second guess things, and there was obviously too much comparing. But since I quit social media, things have calmed down a lot. And again, more focus, more intention. I spend time on my blog, much more time than I did before. My podcast, obviously, is a joy to do again. I've created content for people. I've created helpful things for people, like the lovely festive email series that I did last year, which really people enjoyed it. And I've also been able to focus on choosing where I market myself and the kind of exposure that I want. And while nothing is a quick fix, you can't just write to a journalist and 5 minutes later you're on the, front cover of Vogue. Obviously that hasn't happened. So it's not a quick like social media can be. It is more of a long-term thing, and you're building up relationships, and that is intentional, and it's scary, but it also means that I'm able to reach a much wider audience in a way that's much more effective than a random Facebook or Instagram post. So I have been in the Guardian newspaper, in the I newspaper. I've been on the BBC News website. I've also been in Health and Wellbeing magazine. And these are opportunities that I would probably not have been able to take advantage of had I been focusing on marketing via social media. So that's really exciting. And it helps me connect with people in a deeper way, because if somebody sees me in an article or on the BBC, for example, then they get in touch and we start a conversation, which is much deeper, more meaningful, and there's more connection than just scrolling through and tapping on social media. And that connection, I think, is apparent across all areas of my life. So my friends, obviously, my clients, my business, and my family, and myself. I think I'm really present in everything that I do now. It's not perfect, obviously. We're not the Waltons. We watch too much TV. We argue. We've all got phones. So, we're not completely unplugged. But we feel more like a family, I think. And we've enjoyed a lot more quality time together this year. We've been in nature much more, which was a big thing for me and probably an important reason why I stopped social media, because I do love being outdoors, walking, hiking, just being in nature, with the trees. We spend an awful amount of time this summer in the woods. But before, I was always a bit distracted by it. Where can I do a selfie, or what's going to be a great image, or what can I say about me having a cup of tea in the woods? But now I do those things just because, and they're enjoyable just because. I'm not thinking about how to engineer, I suppose, my breakfast at the top of a mountain into an Instagram post. What else? General benefits, I suppose, are much calmer. I think I mentioned that before. I do, in general, feel less stressed. And because of, my time meditating, my time in nature, sleeping better, when I am faced with stress, I'm much more able to cope with it. I do feel generally less frazzled. I'm not, on the back foot all the time, catching up, which is really nice. Less comparing. That's really liberating, not to be worrying about other people, whether I'm as good as them, what they think of me, all of that. And my confidence has grown as a result. It's, really improving, and it's giving me the confidence in myself to, as I said, seek out these new opportunities. So write to journalists for my business, to get in touch, to apply for things, to reach out and invite people on my podcast. Things that I would have probably either not done before because I just did everything on social media, or I would have felt, maybe I'm not good enough for this person to, be interviewed. Things like that. So my confidence is really improving, and I am trying a lot more. I am getting out of my comfort zone more than I was. Sleep obviously is so much better. I used to check my social media last thing at night, first thing in the morning. Sometimes I would get up in the night and go to the loo and check my phone and check my feed then, which would end up, with me lying awake for ages afterwards, thinking about what I just seen, which is not good for sleep, as you can imagine. However, I'm still checking my phone sometimes in the night. If I get up to go to the loo and use my phone as a torch, then I might see, I might check my email, or if there's a WhatsApp message there, I might read it. So I think I need to get rid of the phone at bedtime, in the night, obviously, completely. But my sleep is still better than it was. And my mornings are my own now. Because I'm not checking my feed first thing in the morning, I'm not distracted. I'm not immediately starting my day off on the back foot. My mood's not dictated by what I've seen or read first thing. I'm not absorbing the energy of other people who happen to pop up on my feed. And it means that I have more time to do the things that I enjoy, such as meditating, journaling, going for a walk. And that makes a massive difference. How you start your day really is important. So just for that, I think it's worth having a break from social media. In general then, everything's been really good. Apart from, a few little niggles, which I need to share with you because it's not all been amazing and wonderful. I do feel like I've lost touch with some people, and I did touch on that at the beginning. My circle of friends has got a bit smaller, but in general, I do feel like I don't know what people I know are up to these days. There's no, I don't know, back and forth comments from people. If you comment on their post and they reply and vice versa. So it does take more effort to really stay in touch with people. Which is a shame. It's a little bit sad. However, it shows me who my real friends are, which is the most important thing. I sometimes get frustrated as well that people use social media for everything. It's, oh, what's your Instagram handle, or what's your Twitter, whatever it is. For example, my local village, if you want to find out what's going on in the village, then you have to go on Facebook, because they do put posters up and things, but unless you're in the village every single day, then it could be a few days before you've realised what's happened that you've missed. I was in the doctor's on Monday and there was a sign saying, come and give blood, but for 2 days ago. So it's things like that I miss out on. And because I'm not obviously on there all the time like I was, I do pop in from time to time. There is a bit of, missing out or finding out about things too late. And bargains. There seem to be loads of bargains on Facebook that I'm probably missing out on. But then again, if I don't know about them, then I'm not really missing out. But that's it really. Nothing major, nothing I miss so much that it would make me want to go back. So no, if you asked me, would you go back to social media, in the same capacity that I was using it before, then definitely not. Because like when I quit drinking, I've gained so much from not doing it anymore. And I'm seeing just how better life is without it. And that's what I want to experience more of. I do think that social media made me lazy, as a business person, as me, myself, and I, a bit lazy. I'm more confident, as I said, and I'm much more inclined to get out of my comfort zone and do something on purpose with intention. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think the fact that I've got the energy and the desire and the inclination to try is worth it. And life's overall much calmer without social media. I've got more time, like I mentioned at the beginning, more energy, more space. Connections and friendships are deeper and more meaningful. And I'm not comparing myself to other people all the time. I'm not second guessing every decision I make, everything that I do. And I feel more like myself. And I've gained a lot more headspace. So for that reason alone, then I would recommend that you take a break, if that's what you're thinking about. If you've been inspired by this and are considering a break, then definitely start with 24 hours, see how that goes, and maybe make it a regular thing. Maybe disconnect every Sunday or work up to having a long weekend without social media, and just give yourself the space to experience something different, to look up, to go for a walk, to call somebody, or to write a letter, all of those things. Or nothing. Use it, the time that you're not scrolling, to do nothing, because that's lovely too. And see what unfolds, see what happens, see how it feels. And I think you might be surprised as to how much you enjoy it. I'd love to know how you get on. I'd love to know your experiences of using social media for yourself. If you're a business, how are you finding that? Have you had a break? Would you like to take a break? And as always, if you need any support with anything, whether it be quitting drinking or indeed quitting social media, then I am here to help you. So get in touch. You can email me or contact me through my website, obviously not on social media because I won't see it. So thank you so much for listening. I really hope that today's little talk has inspired you to think about your own social media use and where you might want to go from there. And I will be in touch with a new podcast very soon after my UK trip. So I will tell you all about that as well. Have a wonderful day, and I will speak to you very soon. Bye for now.